Discipline Over Motivation, a complete guide, written and published by Echo Elevate. Introduction. Discipline over motivation. Motivation feels powerful, but it is not reliable. Discipline is different. Discipline shows up when motivation disappears. This book begins with a simple truth. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait forever. If you act with discipline, progress begins immediately. Most people chase motivation. They look for the perfect mood. They wait for inspiration to strike. And when it fades, they stop. This guide is not about hype. It is not about temporary energy. It is about building a system that works every day. Discipline is not harsh. It is not punishment. It is a form of self-respect. When you practice discipline, you remove negotiation. You act because you decided to act, not because you feel like it. This book will show you how discipline works. You will learn why motivation fails. You will learn how habits replace willpower. You will learn how consistency shapes identity. Each chapter is designed to be clear and practical. No complex theories, no emotional pressure, just principles that stand up over time. You will learn how to act on difficult days. You will learn how to stay steady under pressure. You will learn how to keep moving forward when progress feels slow. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being dependable. It is about doing the work again and again. By the end of this guide, discipline will feel simple, not easy, but clear. This is not a book to motivate you for a moment. It is a guide to train your behavior for life. Let us begin with the choice that changes everything. Chapter 1. The Truth About Motivation. Motivation feels like a spark. It arrives suddenly. It fills the mind with energy and confidence. For a moment, everything feels possible. Then it fades. Most people are surprised when this happens. They assume motivation should last. They believe something is wrong when it disappears. But nothing is wrong at all. Motivation was never designed to stay. Motivation is an emotional response. It is triggered by excitement, fear, desire, or inspiration. Emotions are temporary by nature. They rise and fall without warning. This is where many people struggle. They build their goals on a feeling that cannot be controlled. When the feeling disappears, action stops, progress slows, confidence weakens. Think about how people start new goals. A new year begins. A powerful speech is heard. A video sparks excitement. Energy feels high. Work begins with enthusiasm. Plans feel easy. Commitment feels strong. Then life interrupts. Sleep is poor. Stress increases. Results take longer than expected. The emotional fuel runs out. This is not failure. This is the normal cycle of motivation. Motivation responds to novelty. Once something becomes routine, motivation loses interest. The brain looks for a new reward. The work remains, but the excitement leaves. This is why motivation cannot be trusted as a foundation. It reacts to mood. It reacts to comfort. It reacts to results. Discipline does not. Motivation asks a question before acting. Do I feel like doing this right now? Discipline does not ask, it executes the decision that was already made. Consider a simple example. A person decides to exercise every morning. On the first day, motivation is strong. On the second day, it is weaker. On the fifth day, it is gone. If motivation is the driver, the habit ends. If discipline is the driver, the habit continues. Motivation says wait until you feel ready. Discipline says start anyway. Many people believe they need more motivation. What they actually need is fewer negotiations with themselves. Every internal debate drains energy. Every delay trains hesitation. Motivation thrives on reward. Discipline thrives on structure. When motivation is present, action feels easy. When it is absent, action feels heavy. Discipline carries the weight when motivation drops. This does not mean motivation is useless. Motivation is a signal. It can point you toward what matters. It can help you begin, but it cannot be trusted to finish. Professional performers understand this truth early. Athletes do not train only when inspired. Writers do not write only when they feel creative. Builders do not work only when conditions are perfect. They rely on schedules. They rely on systems. They rely on commitment. They know that consistency creates results, not excitement. Motivation feels good. Discipline feels reliable. There is another truth that is rarely discussed. Motivation often appears after action, not before it. Movement creates momentum. Progress creates energy. Waiting to feel motivated often delays the very action that would create motivation. Think of a task you have been avoiding. The moment you begin, resistance is high. After a few minutes, the resistance softens. Clarity improves. Energy returns. Action changed the emotional state, not the other way around. This is why discipline works even on difficult days. It bypasses mood. It focuses on behavior. Motivation focuses on how you feel. Discipline focuses on what you do. There is freedom in understanding this. You stop blaming yourself for low motivation. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop needing emotional permission to act. Instead, you build a simple rule. When it is time to act, you act. Discipline does not remove difficulty. It removes doubt. The truth about motivation is simple. It is a bonus, not a requirement. It is helpful, but unreliable. It is emotional, not structural. When you stop depending on motivation, progress becomes stable. When you build discipline, action becomes automatic. This chapter is not meant to criticize motivation. It is meant to place it in the correct role. Motivation can inspire you to begin. Discipline is what carries you forward. Once this truth is accepted, everything changes. You stop chasing feelings. You start building standards, and that shift is where real growth begins. Chapter 2. What discipline really means. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people think it means forcing yourself to suffer. Others believe it requires extreme willpower. Some see it as a rigid or joyless way to live. None of these ideas are accurate. Real discipline is much simpler and much more powerful. Discipline is the ability to act according to a decision, not according to a mood, not according to comfort, not according to circumstances. When you choose discipline, you choose consistency over emotion. You choose direction over impulse. You choose long-term results over short-term relief. Discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It is about being honest with yourself. At its core, discipline is alignment. Your actions align with your values. Your behavior aligns with your goals. Your daily choices align with the person you want to become. Without discipline, goals remain ideas. With discipline, ideas turn into results. Many people believe discipline appears after confidence. In reality, confidence appears after discipline. When you keep promises to yourself, trust grows. When trust grows, self-belief strengthens. Discipline is built through small actions, not dramatic change, not sudden transformation. A disciplined person does not rely on intensity. They rely on repeatability. Think of discipline as a set of rules you follow when emotions are unreliable. These rules reduce decision-making. They remove hesitation. They protect progress. For example, a disciplined person does not ask, "Should I work today?" They ask, "What is today's work?" The decision has already been made. This is where discipline saves energy. Every choice you remove preserves focus. Every habit you install reduces mental strain. Discipline does not demand perfection. It demands participation. You do not need to do everything right. You need to do the right things often. Many people fail because they aim for extreme effort. They push too hard. They burn out. Then they stop. Discipline works differently. It values sustainability. It values pace. It values showing up even when performance is average. A disciplined day does not need to be impressive. It needs to be complete. There is a quiet strength in discipline. It does not announce itself. It does not seek validation. It simply produces results over time. Discipline also creates freedom. This may sound surprising, but structure removes chaos. When your days have structure, your mind relaxes. You no longer waste energy deciding what to do next. You follow the plan. This is why discipline reduces stress. Uncertainty is exhausting. Clarity is calming. Discipline is also deeply personal. Your rules must fit your life. They must be realistic. They must be repeatable. Borrowed discipline rarely lasts. Built discipline stays. This chapter is not about copying routines from others. It is about understanding the principle behind them. Discipline works because it is behavioral. It does not depend on confidence. It does not depend on motivation. It depends on commitment. Commitment means you act even when the outcome is unclear, even when progress is slow, even when no one is watching. That is where discipline proves its value. Discipline also shapes identity. Every disciplined action sends a signal. It says, I am the kind of person who follows through. Over time, these signals compound. You stop forcing discipline. You start living it. This is an important shift. Discipline moves from effort to default. At first, discipline feels unnatural. Later, indiscipline feels uncomfortable. This is how habits are formed. Not through pressure, but through repetition. Discipline does not eliminate desire. It trains it. You still want comfort. You still want ease. But you learn to delay them. Delayed reward is a core skill of discipline. It separates those who progress from those who stall. Discipline asks a simple question. What matters most right now? And then it acts on the answer. It does not mean you never rest. It means rest is chosen, not escaped into. It means breaks are intentional, not impulsive. A disciplined life still includes joy. But joy is earned through alignment, not avoidance. By understanding what discipline truly means, you remove fear from it. It is not a punishment. It is a partnership with your future self. Discipline is how you respect your time. Discipline is how you honor your goals. Discipline is how you turn potential into reality. In the next chapter, you will see how discipline shapes identity, not in theory, but through daily action, because what you do repeatedly becomes who you are. Chapter 3. Discipline builds identity. Identity is not something you find, it is something you build. Most people believe identity comes first. They think confidence creates action. They think belief creates behavior. In reality, it works the other way around. Every action you take sends a signal to your mind. That signal answers a simple question. What kind of person am I becoming? Discipline is the language of that signal. When you act with discipline, even in small ways, you tell yourself a story. You say, I am someone who follows through. I am someone who does not quit when it gets uncomfortable. I am someone who keeps promises. This story grows stronger with repetition. Think about how identity forms in daily life. No one wakes up one day and suddenly becomes confident. Confidence is built through repeated proof. Proof comes from action. Each disciplined action becomes evidence. Evidence shapes belief. Belief shapes identity. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation feels good, but it leaves no proof behind. Discipline leaves a record. Missed workouts weaken identity. Kept commitments strengthen it. The mind is always watching behavior. It keeps score quietly. Over time, the score becomes self-image. If you often delay tasks, your mind learns hesitation. If you often finish what you start, your mind learns reliability. Discipline trains the mind to expect follow-through. This expectation changes how you see yourself, and how you see yourself changes how you act. This is a powerful loop. Many people try to change their identity through words. They repeat affirmations. They visualize success. They imagine confidence. These tools can help, but without disciplined action, they remain fragile. Words without behavior collapse under pressure. Discipline builds identity that holds steady, especially on difficult days. Consider someone who identifies as disciplined. They do not think deeply before acting. They simply act. The decision was made long ago. This does not mean they never struggle. It means struggle does not stop them. Their identity supports their behavior, and their behavior reinforces their identity. This loop is not created overnight. It is built through small choices, waking up on time, completing a task even when energy is low, returning to the plan after a setback. None of these actions are dramatic, but together they create a stable sense of self. Discipline also removes inner conflict. When your actions match your standards, your mind feels calm. When they do not, tension builds. That tension is not weakness. It is feedback. Discipline reduces this internal noise. You know what you expect from yourself, and you meet that expectation consistently. This creates self-respect. Self-respect is not given by others. It is earned privately. Every time you do what you said you would do, respect grows. Every time you break a promise to yourself, it weakens. This is why discipline is deeply personal. No one else needs to see it. Its impact is internal first. Over time, disciplined behavior changes how you speak, how you decide, how you handle pressure. You stop asking if you can do something. You ask how you will do it. Identity shifts from uncertainty to ownership. There is another important truth. Discipline builds identity even when results are slow. You may not see progress immediately, but your identity is changing quietly. You are becoming someone who shows up, someone who stays consistent, someone who does not rely on excuses. This identity prepares you for future success. When opportunity arrives, discipline allows you to respond. When pressure increases, discipline keeps you steady. People often admire confidence, but confidence is built on discipline. The strongest identities are built during unseen moments. Moments where quitting would be easy. Moments where no one is watching. Discipline in those moments defines you. It teaches you who you are under pressure. It shows you what you value. It reveals your standards. Standards shape identity. If your standard is effort only when convenient, identity stays weak. If your standard is consistencies regardless of mood, identity strengthens. This chapter is not about labeling yourself. It is about earning your identity through action. You do not need to become a new person. You need to act like the person you respect. One disciplined action today matters, not because it changes everything instantly, but because it adds one more piece of evidence. Evidence that you are capable. Evidence that you are dependable. Evidence that you can be trusted by yourself. Over time, these pieces form a solid identity, an identity that does not collapse when motivation fades. Discipline builds who you are, quietly, daily, permanently. In the next chapter, you will learn how routine supports discipline, because identity becomes strongest when discipline is automatic. Chapter 4. The Power of Routine. Routine is discipline made automatic. It is what happens when effort becomes structure. Most people believe success requires constant self-control. They think progress depends on daily motivation and strong willpower. This belief creates exhaustion before results appear. Routine solves this problem. A routine removes the need to decide. When something is scheduled, it is no longer optional. Action becomes expected, not debated. The human brain prefers efficiency. It looks for patterns. It saves energy by repeating what is familiar. Routine works with this natural design. Instead of fighting the mind, it guides it. When a routine is in place, discipline no longer feels heavy. It feels normal. Think about daily behaviors you perform without effort. Brushing your teeth, getting dressed, checking the time. These actions do not require motivation. they happen because they are routine. The same principle applies to productive behavior. When work becomes routine, resistance decreases. The mind stops asking why. It focuses on how. This is why routine is more powerful than motivation. Motivation depends on emotion. Routine depends on structure. Structure outlasts emotion. Many people wait until they feel ready to begin. Routine removes waiting. It creates a fixed start point. At a certain time, you act, not because you feel inspired, but because that is what you do at that time. This creates reliability. Reliability builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence reinforces the routine. This cycle strengthens over time. Routine also protects focus. When actions are predictable, distractions lose power. The mind knows what comes next. Without routine, every task feels new. New tasks demand more energy. Energy drains quickly. Routine reduces mental load. It frees attention for quality and depth. This is why professionals rely on routine. Not because they lack creativity, but because routine preserves it. Creativity thrives inside structure, not chaos. Another benefit of routine is emotional stability. When your days follow a pattern, stress decreases, uncertainty fades. You are no longer guessing how the day will unfold. You already know. This does not make life rigid. It makes it manageable. Routine does not mean doing everything the same way forever. It means creating a consistent foundation. The foundation supports flexibility, not the other way around. A strong routine includes non-negotiable actions. These actions move your life forward regardless of mood. They may be small, but they are consistent. Small routines done daily outperform large efforts done rarely. This is where many people fail. They aim for dramatic change. They ignore consistency. Routine rewards patience. There is an important distinction to understand. Routine is not restriction. It is intention. You choose your routine. It reflects your priorities. When routine is intentional, it feels empowering. When routine is accidental, it feels draining. Designing a routine requires honesty. You must consider your energy, your schedule, your limits. A routine that demands perfection will collapse. A routine that allows consistency will survive. Start simple, one time, one place, one action. Repeat it daily. The goal is not intensity. The goal is reliability. Routine also creates identity reinforcement. When you act the same disciplined way each day, identity strengthens. You stop seeing discipline as effort. You start seeing it as who you are. This shift changes everything. Missed days will happen. Routine does not demand perfection. It demands return. The true power of routine is not in never failing. It is in resuming quickly. When routine is established, one missed day does not derail progress. The pattern remains intact. This prevents guilt spirals. It prevents quitting. Routine builds resilience. There is also freedom in routine. When important tasks are handled early or automatically, the rest of the day opens up. Decision fatigue disappears. Mental clutter clears. You gain time and energy for what matters most. Routine is not boring. Uncertainty is exhausting. Routine provides rhythm. Rhythm creates flow. Flow improves performance. This is why routine is essential for long-term discipline. It transforms effort into habit. Habit into identity. Identity into results. Discipline starts as a conscious choice. Routine turns it into a default behavior. That is real power. In the next chapter, you will learn how to act even when you do not feel ready, because routine prepares you for difficult days, and difficult days reveal the strength of discipline. Chapter 5. Doing the work when you do not feel like it. There will be days when you do not feel ready. There will be days when energy is low. There will be days when motivation is absent. These days matter the most. Anyone can work when conditions are perfect. Progress is decided on ordinary days, especially the difficult ones. Most people wait for the right feeling. They wait to feel focused. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel motivated. Discipline does not wait. Discipline acts despite resistance. Resistance is not a sign of weakness. It is a normal response to effort. The mind prefers comfort. It avoids discomfort by creating hesitation. This hesitation feels logical. It sounds reasonable. It offers excuses that seem convincing. Not today. Tomorrow will be better. I need more rest. I will start when I feel ready. These thoughts are familiar to everyone. The difference is not whether you hear them. The difference is whether you obey them. Doing the work when you do not feel like it is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. The first step is understanding this truth. Feelings do not need to lead behavior. You can act without emotional agreement. Think of discipline as following instructions you wrote earlier. Those instructions were written with clarity. They were written when you were calm. They were written with your future in mind. When emotions change, the instructions remain valid. This is why planning matters. Decisions made in advance protect you on low-energy days. When it is time to work, the goal is not excellence. The goal is engagement. Start small. Begin with the first step, not the entire task, not the final result. The first step reduces resistance. Movement breaks inertia. Often the hardest part is starting. Once you begin, momentum builds naturally. This is not motivation. It is physics. Action creates movement. Movement creates energy. Waiting for energy creates delay. Another important principle is separating effort from emotion. You do not need to feel positive to act professionally. Professionals work regardless of mood. They understand something important. Mood follows behavior more often than behavior follows mood. If you wait to feel good, progress is inconsistent. If you act first, emotion often adjusts. This does not mean ignoring exhaustion. It means recognizing the difference between fatigue and avoidance. Fatigue requires rest. Avoidance requires action. Learning to tell the difference takes honesty. One way to reduce resistance is to lower the bar. On difficult days, aim for minimum standards, not maximum output. A short session is better than none. A partial effort is better than quitting. Minimum effort preserves identity. It keeps the habit alive. This approach prevents the all-or-nothing mindset. That mindset is dangerous. All-or-nothing thinking says, if it cannot be perfect, it is not worth doing. Discipline rejects this idea. Discipline values consistency over intensity. Another powerful strategy is removing choice. When work becomes optional, emotion decides. When work is scheduled, structure decides. At a certain time you begin. No discussion, no debate. This is how discipline operates under pressure. There is also value in understanding delayed reward. The benefit of disciplined work is rarely immediate. That can make it feel pointless in the moment. But progress compounds quietly. One session may feel insignificant. 10 sessions create momentum. 100 sessions change outcomes. The disciplined person trusts the process. They do not need daily proof. They measure success by adherence, not excitement. Doing the work when you do not feel like it also builds inner strength. Each time you act despite resistance, self-trust grows. You learn that feelings are temporary. You learn that discomfort can be survived. You learn that progress does not require permission from emotion. This knowledge is powerful. Over time, resistance loses authority. It still appears, but it no longer controls behavior. This is how discipline matures. There will still be hard days. Discipline does not remove difficulty. It removes surrender. It teaches you to move forward anyway. When you look back, these days will matter most. Not the easy days. Not the exciting days. The days when you showed up tired. The days when you worked quietly. The days when you kept going, without applause. Those days build real strength. Doing the work when you do not feel like it is not about forcing yourself endlessly. It is about honoring commitments made with clarity. It is about respecting the version of yourself who decided this work mattered. You do not need to feel ready. You need to begin. In the next chapter, you will learn how discipline strengthens self-control over time. Because every act of discipline trains your ability to choose progress over impulse. Chapter 6. Discipline and Self-Control. Self-control is not a personality trait, it is a skill. Many people believe some are born with strong self-control, and others are not. This belief creates limitation before effort begins. In reality, self-control is trained through behavior. Discipline is the training method. Every time you act against impulse, self-control strengthens. Every time you delay gratification, control improves. Every time you follow a rule you set, discipline reinforces authority. Self-control is the ability to pause, to choose response over reaction, to act with intention instead of instinct. Discipline creates that pause. Impulse is fast. It wants comfort now. It avoids effort now. It seeks relief now. Discipline slows the moment. It creates space between urge and action. That space is where control lives. Consider how impulse works. You feel the urge to stop working, to check your phone, to postpone the task. The urge feels urgent. It feels logical. It feels justified. But it passes. Urges are temporary. They rise. They peak. They fade. Self-control is the ability to wait through the wave. Discipline teaches you that waiting is possible. At first, waiting feels uncomfortable. The mind resists. The body seeks escape. This discomfort is not danger. It is training. Just like muscle soreness signals growth, mental discomfort signals strengthening control. Many people misunderstand this feeling. They assume discomfort means something is wrong. They stop. Those who grow understand the signal differently. They recognize it as progress. Discipline does not eliminate impulse. It reduces obedience to impulse. You still feel desire. You still feel avoidance. But you choose action anyway. This choice builds authority over time. Authority over yourself is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Without self-control, potential remains unused. With self-control, effort becomes reliable. Discipline also reduces the frequency of impulse. The more often you choose discipline, the weaker impulsive urges become. The mind learns patterns. When impulses are ignored consistently, they lose influence. This is why discipline becomes easier with repetition. Early stages require effort. Later stages require maintenance. Self-control also improves decision quality. When impulse dominates, decisions are emotional. When discipline leads, decisions are strategic. Strategic decisions consider long-term impact. Emotional decisions seek short-term relief. Discipline trains long-term thinking. There is an important distinction here. Self-control is not suppression. It is direction. You are not eliminating desire. You are guiding it. For example, the desire for comfort is natural. Discipline delays comfort, not denies it permanently. This delay creates balance. Without delay, comfort becomes excess. Excess leads to stagnation. Discipline teaches moderation. Another key aspect of self-control is boundary setting. Boundaries reduce temptation. If temptation is constant, control drains quickly. Discipline designs the environment to support behavior. You remove unnecessary choices. You limit exposure to distraction. You make disciplined actions easier. This is not weakness. It is intelligence. Strong self-control is supported by smart structure. Relying on constant restraint is exhausting. Using systems preserves energy. Discipline understands this balance. Self-control also grows through small wins. You do not need extreme acts. You need repeated proof. Each time you follow through, confidence grows. Each time you resist impulse, trust builds. Trust in yourself is critical. When you trust yourself, decisions become simpler. You no longer debate whether you will act. You know you will. This reduces internal friction. Self-control also improves emotional regulation. You stop reacting immediately. You pause. You assess. This calm response improves outcomes in all areas of life. Work improves. Relationships improve. Stress reduces. Discipline does not make life rigid. It makes life intentional. One of the greatest benefits of discipline is emotional stability. When actions are consistent, emotions settle. Chaos creates anxiety. Structure creates calm. Self-control allows you to stay grounded during pressure. It keeps behavior steady even when emotions fluctuate. This stability is a competitive advantage. Many people collapse under pressure because impulse takes over. Disciplined individuals stay composed. They are not emotionless. They are controlled. This control is not force. It is familiarity with discomfort. They have trained it. Discipline and self-control grow together. Each reinforces the other. Discipline provides the rule. Self-control enforces it. Over time, enforcement becomes natural. You stop fighting yourself. You start trusting your structure. That trust changes everything. Self-control becomes part of who you are, not something you struggle to maintain. In the next chapter, you will learn how discipline holds firm under pressure, because pressure reveals whether self-control has truly been trained. Chapter 7. Discipline under pressure. Pressure changes everything. It speeds up decisions. It amplifies emotion. It exposes habits. When pressure appears, preparation speaks louder than intention. Many people believe they will rise to the occasion. In reality, they fall to their level of discipline. Pressure does not create behavior, it reveals it. This is why discipline matters most when things are difficult. Not when life is calm, not when progress is smooth, but when time is limited and stakes feel high. Under pressure, motivation becomes unstable. Emotion fluctuates rapidly. Clarity narrows. Discipline provides structure when the mind feels crowded. Think about moments of pressure. Deadlines approach. Expectations rise. Energy drops. The mind looks for escape. It wants relief. It wants shortcuts. Discipline resists this urge. Discipline says, follow the process. This is the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is emotional. Response is trained. Pressure rewards those who have practiced consistency. It punishes those who rely on feeling. Consider professionals in high-stakes environments. They do not invent new behavior under pressure. They repeat what they already know. They trust systems. They trust routines. They trust discipline. This trust reduces panic. Panic comes from uncertainty. Uncertainty comes from lack of structure. Discipline replaces uncertainty with familiarity. When you have practiced acting without emotion, pressure feels manageable, not comfortable, but controllable. This control does not mean absence of fear. It means fear does not dictate behavior. Fear often appears under pressure. It signals importance. It signals risk. Discipline acknowledges fear, then it continues. Pressure also compresses time. Decisions feel urgent. Mistakes feel costly. In these moments, discipline simplifies choices. You do not ask what feels best. You ask what aligns with standards. Standards act as anchors. They prevent drift. Without standards, pressure pushes behavior toward impulse. With standards, pressure sharpens focus. This is why discipline must be trained before pressure arrives. You cannot improvise discipline in a crisis. Training happens on ordinary days. Quiet days. Unnoticed days. Those days build automatic responses. When pressure arrives, the response is ready. Another truth about pressure is this: pressure magnifies small weaknesses. Poor habits become obvious. Avoidance becomes costly. Indecision becomes visible. Discipline closes these gaps early. It strengthens consistency when it matters least, so it holds when it matters most. Pressure also tests commitment. It asks whether goals are conditional. Conditional goals disappear under stress. Disciplined goals remain. A disciplined person does not renegotiate standards when pressure rises. They simplify execution. This simplification reduces error under pressure. Doing less, but doing it well matters. Discipline focuses on essentials. It removes unnecessary actions. It narrows attention. This focus is powerful. Pressure often creates noise. Opinions multiply. Doubts increase. Discipline filters noise. It returns attention to the task. This does not mean ignoring feedback. It means avoiding distraction. Another important aspect of discipline under pressure is emotional regulation. Emotions intensify when stakes rise. Anger appears. Frustration builds. Anxiety grows. Discipline creates a pause. That pause prevents emotional spillover. You still feel emotion. You simply do not let it control the next step. This restraint preserves performance. Performance under pressure is rarely about effort. It is about control. Controlled action outperforms frantic action. Discipline also supports recovery after pressure. Once the moment passes, disciplined individuals return to baseline faster. They do not spiral. They do not collapse. They reset. This ability to recover is just as important as performance itself. Pressure is temporary. Habits are permanent. Those with discipline understand this difference. They do not let temporary stress justify permanent deviation. Discipline under pressure builds trust. Others trust you. More importantly, you trust yourself. Self-trust reduces fear in future pressure situations. You know you can hold steady. This confidence is earned, not assumed. Every time you act with discipline under pressure, strength increases. Pressure becomes less intimidating, not because it weakens, but because you strengthen. This is the quiet power of discipline. It does not remove difficulty. It creates stability within it. When pressure arrives, discipline is your anchor. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you moving. In the next chapter you will learn how discipline eliminates excuses, because excuses are most tempting when pressure is high. Chapter 8. Eliminating excuses. Excuses sound reasonable. That is why they are dangerous. They do not appear as lies. They appear as explanations. They feel logical. They feel justified. But excuses quietly weaken discipline. In excuses, any thought that protects comfort at the cost of progress. It shifts responsibility away from action. It delays commitment. Most excuses are not spoken out loud. They live inside the mind. They speak in a calm voice. I am too busy. I am too tired. This is not the right time. I will do it later. These thoughts feel harmless, but repeated often, they become habits. Excuses train avoidance. The mind learns a pattern. When effort appears, escape follows. This pattern becomes automatic. Eliminating excuses begins with awareness. You cannot remove what you do not notice. Excuses usually appear at predictable moments, when a task feels uncomfortable, when progress feels slow, when results are uncertain. These moments test discipline. An important truth is this: everyone has reasons. Only some people use them as excuses. A reason explains reality. An excuse avoids responsibility. For example, feeling tired is real. Choosing to stop every time you feel tired is an excuse. The difference is not the condition. It is the response. Discipline accepts reality without surrendering to it. Excuses often disguise themselves as self-care. Rest is important. Recovery matters. But avoidance pretends to be rest. Discipline requires honesty. You must ask a simple question. Is this rest or escape? That question changes behavior. Another common excuse is waiting for the right time. The right time rarely arrives. Conditions are never perfect. Energy fluctuates. Life remains unpredictable. If action depends on ideal timing, action becomes rare. Discipline acts within imperfect conditions. Excuses also multiply when goals feel large. The mind feels overwhelmed. It looks for relief. Relief appears as delay. Breaking tasks into small actions reduces excuses. Small steps feel manageable. They remove the need for justification. Excuses thrive in vagueness. Clarity weakens them. When the next action is clear, excuses lose power. Another powerful way to eliminate excuses is ownership. Ownership means accepting full responsibility for outcomes. Not blame. Responsibility. Blame looks outward. Responsibility looks inward. When responsibility is accepted, excuses lose function. There is no need to protect ego. There is no need to justify inaction. You simply act. Excuses also disappear when standards are clear. Clear standards reduce negotiation. If your standard is effort only when convenient, excuses fit easily. If your standard is consistency regardless of mood, excuses clash. Standards expose excuses. Discipline replaces excuses with rules. Rules do not argue. They direct. For example, instead of deciding daily whether to work, you decide once. At this time, I work. This removes the space where excuses grow. Another truth about excuses is this: they provide short-term comfort and long-term regret. Discipline provides short-term discomfort and long-term freedom. This trade-off must be accepted. There is also social reinforcement of excuses. People often support excuses to avoid discomfort themselves. This can feel validating, but validation does not create progress. Discipline requires independence of thought. You must be willing to act without approval. Eliminating excuses also means accepting imperfection. Excuses often hide fear of doing poorly. Fear says, if I cannot do it well, I should not do it at all. Discipline rejects this thinking. Progress comes from participation, not performance. Imperfect action beats perfect intention. Another useful practice is reviewing excuses after the fact. Notice patterns. Notice timing. You will see familiar phrases repeat. These phrases reveal weak points. Awareness weakens repetition. Excuses do not disappear overnight. They lose power gradually. Each time you act despite an excuse, discipline strengthens. Excuses lose credibility. Over time, the mind stops offering them as often. This is training. Eliminating excuses is not about harsh self-judgment. It is about clear self-leadership. You are not fighting yourself. You are guiding yourself. Guidance requires firmness. When excuses appear, discipline responds calmly, not with anger, not with frustration, just action. This calm response builds trust. You learn that you do not need perfect conditions. You do not need perfect motivation. You need follow-through. Excuses disappear when follow-through becomes the standard. This chapter is about reclaiming authority. Authority over time. Authority over effort. Authority over direction. When excuses no longer decide your actions, discipline does. And when discipline decides, progress becomes inevitable. In the next chapter, you will learn how long-term thinking strengthens discipline, because excuses lose power when the future matters more than the moment. Chapter 9. Long-term thinking. Short-term thinking feels natural. The mind is drawn to what is immediate. Comfort now, relief now, reward now. Long-term thinking must be trained. Discipline is the bridge between today and the future. Without it, the future is always postponed. With it, the future is built daily. Many people understand what they want long-term. Few structure their behavior to support it. Long-term thinking is not about dreaming far ahead. It is about acting correctly today. Every action sends you in a direction. Some directions compound forward, others quietly pull you backward. Discipline chooses direction over impulse. Impulse focuses on the present moment. It asks what feels best right now. Discipline asks what matters most over time. This difference shapes outcomes. Consider how small choices add up. One skipped effort feels insignificant. Repeated often, it becomes a pattern. One disciplined action feels minor. Repeated daily, it becomes momentum. Long-term thinking recognizes this accumulation. Nothing meaningful changes overnight, but everything meaningful changes eventually. This perspective reduces impatience. Impatience is one of the greatest threats to discipline. When results are slow, doubt grows. When doubt grows, effort weakens. Long-term thinking protects against this cycle. It reminds you that progress is not always visible. Roots grow before branches appear. Discipline trusts unseen progress. This trust allows consistent action without immediate reward. Another key aspect of long-term thinking is delayed gratification. Delayed gratification means choosing a larger reward later over a smaller reward now. This skill separates growth from stagnation. Comfort now often steals opportunity later. Effort now creates freedom later. Discipline makes this trade consciously. Long-term thinkers do not avoid pleasure. They schedule it. They earn it. This balance prevents burnout. Without long-term thinking, discipline feels restrictive. With long-term thinking, discipline feels purposeful. Purpose changes perception. When you connect daily effort to future benefit, resistance decreases. The work gains meaning. Long-term thinking also reduces emotional volatility. You stop reacting to daily fluctuations. You focus on trends. A bad day no longer feels like failure. It feels like noise. This mindset is stabilizing. Discipline thrives in stability. Another important element is patience with identity change. Becoming disciplined is not instant. It unfolds gradually. Long-term thinking allows room for growth. It accepts learning curves. It allows mistakes without abandoning the process. This patience keeps people in the game. Many people quit not because they fail, but because they fail to see progress fast enough. Long-term thinking reframes failure. Failure becomes data, feedback, adjustment. Discipline uses this information to improve, not to retreat. Long-term thinkers review their behavior regularly. They ask simple questions. Is this moving me forward? Is this sustainable? This reflection keeps discipline aligned. Another benefit of long-term thinking is clarity under temptation. Temptation promises immediate relief. Long-term thinking exposes the cost. When you see the cost clearly, temptation loses appeal. Discipline becomes easier when the future is vivid. Visualizing long-term outcomes strengthens present behavior, not in fantasy, but in consequence. You imagine where habits lead. You choose accordingly. Long-term thinking also encourages consistency over intensity. Short-term thinking pushes extremes. Long-term thinking values sustainability. Sustainable effort outperforms bursts of intensity. This is why disciplined people pace themselves. They are not racing. They are building. Building requires patience. Another important shift happens with long-term thinking. You stop measuring success by emotion. You measure it by adherence. Did I follow the plan today? Did I act according to standards? This measurement is reliable. Emotions fluctuate. Standards remain. Long-term thinking aligns discipline with standards, not moods. Over time, this creates confidence. Confidence rooted in evidence, not optimism. You know progress is happening because behavior is consistent. This knowledge is calming. Long-term thinking also reduces comparison. When you focus on your timeline, others lose influence. Comparison fuels impatience. Impatience weakens discipline. Staying focused on your path preserves energy. Discipline supported by long-term thinking becomes steady, not rushed, not frantic. Steady progress compounds. The future is not built by dramatic moments. It is built by ordinary days repeated with intention. Long-term thinking honors the ordinary. It values showing up. It values follow-through. It values consistency. When you adopt long-term thinking, discipline becomes easier to maintain. You stop asking if the work is worth it today. You already know it is. This certainty removes doubt. And when doubt fades, action becomes simple. In the next chapter, you will learn how discipline applies to daily life, because long-term thinking must be lived daily to matter at all. Chapter 10. Discipline in daily life. Discipline only matters when it is applied. Ideas alone do not change outcomes. Daily behavior does. This chapter brings discipline into real life, not as theory, but as practice. Daily life is where discipline is tested. Work schedules, family responsibilities, unexpected problems. These moments reveal whether discipline is flexible and functional. Discipline in daily life is not about rigid control. It is about intentional behavior within normal routines. You do not need perfect days. You need consistent standards. One of the most important applications of discipline is time management. Time is limited. Attention is limited. Without discipline, time disappears. With discipline, time is directed. A disciplined day begins with priorities. Not urgency, not convenience. You decide what matters most. Then you protect time for it. This does not require a strict schedule for every minute. It requires clear anchors. Anchors are non-negotiable actions. They give shape to the day. For example, starting work at a set time, or completing one meaningful task before distractions appear. These anchors create momentum. Discipline also applies to energy management. Energy fluctuates daily. Ignoring this leads to burnout. A disciplined approach respects energy. It plans demanding tasks when focus is highest. It places lighter tasks when energy dips. This alignment improves performance without extra effort. Another area where discipline matters is decision-making. Small decisions drain energy. Too many choices create fatigue. Discipline reduces unnecessary decisions. You simplify routines. You repeat useful behaviors. This preserves mental clarity. Daily discipline also shows up in communication. How you respond under stress. How you manage frustration. A disciplined response is calm and measured. It prevents unnecessary conflict. This does not mean suppressing emotion. It means choosing expression carefully. Discipline in daily life also involves boundaries. Boundaries protect focus. They protect recovery. Without boundaries, discipline erodes. Saying no is often an act of discipline. It protects long-term priorities. Discipline is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Another important area is health. Daily choices shape physical and mental well-being. A disciplined approach to health is simple: regular movement, consistent sleep, balanced nutrition. These choices support discipline in other areas. When health declines, discipline becomes harder to maintain. Discipline also appears in learning. Growth requires regular practice, not occasional effort. Daily learning compounds over time. Even short sessions matter. A disciplined learner focuses on consistency. Discipline in daily life also means managing distractions. Distractions are constant. They compete for attention. Discipline creates rules for engagement. When to check messages. When to focus deeply. These rules reduce fragmentation. Another key aspect is follow-through. Starting tasks feels good. Finishing tasks builds trust. Discipline values completion. Completion reinforces identity. It strengthens self-respect. Daily discipline also involves reflection. A short review at the end of the day. What worked, what did not. This reflection improves future behavior. It is not judgment. It is adjustment. Discipline adapts. One mistake many people make is trying to apply discipline everywhere at once. This leads to overload. Discipline grows best when applied gradually. one area at a time. Stability in one area supports growth in others. Daily discipline should feel sustainable. If it feels oppressive, it will not last. Sustainable discipline fits real life. It accounts for responsibilities. It allows flexibility. Flexibility does not mean abandonment. It means intelligent adjustment. When routines break, discipline returns you to baseline. This return is what matters. Discipline in daily life is quiet. It does not demand attention. It does not seek praise. It simply keeps things moving forward. Over time, this consistency changes everything. Progress becomes predictable. Stress decreases. Confidence grows. Discipline stops being something you try to do. It becomes how you live. In the next chapter, you will learn how discipline carries you through failure, because daily life includes setbacks, and discipline determines how you respond to them. Chapter 11. Discipline during failure. Failure is unavoidable. It appears in every meaningful pursuit, not as a sign to stop, but as a moment to decide how you respond. Most people fear failure, not because it hurts, but because they do not know what to do next. Discipline gives direction when failure appears. Failure is an event. Discipline is a behavior. One happens to you. The other is chosen. When failure occurs, emotion rises quickly. Disappointment, frustration, doubt. These emotions are natural. They do not need to be eliminated. They need to be managed. Discipline creates space between failure and reaction. Without discipline, failure leads to avoidance. Work stops. Confidence weakens. Excuses grow. With discipline, failure leads to adjustment. Action continues. Learning begins. This difference determines long-term outcomes. Failure often feels personal. It feels like proof of limitation. But failure is not identity. It is information. Discipline treats failure as data. Data can be analyzed. Data can be improved upon. Data does not define worth. When discipline is present, failure becomes feedback. The first disciplined response to failure is acceptance, not approval. Acceptance. You acknowledge what happened. You avoid denial. You avoid blame. Blame drains energy. Acceptance preserves it. Once accepted, discipline asks a simple question. What is the next correct action? Not why did this happen? Not who is responsible, just what comes next. This question restores movement. Movement is critical after failure. Stopping reinforces fear. Continuing builds resilience. Discipline does not require immediate success. It requires continued participation. Another common response to failure is emotional withdrawal. People pull back. They reduce effort. They protect ego. Discipline resists this instinct. It maintains standards even when confidence is shaken. Standards create stability when emotions fluctuate. This is why disciplined individuals recover faster. They do not reinvent themselves after failure. They return to structure. Structure provides familiarity. Familiarity calms the mind. Failure also tests commitment. It asks whether goals were conditional on success. If commitment disappears after failure, discipline was never present. If commitment remains, discipline strengthens. This strengthening happens quietly. Each time you act after failure, self-trust increases. You learn that setbacks do not stop you. You learn that progress continues, despite imperfection. This knowledge is powerful. Failure also exposes weaknesses in skill, in preparation, in execution. Discipline uses this exposure productively. Instead of avoiding weak areas, discipline addresses them, step by step, without drama. This approach turns failure into a training tool. Another important aspect of discipline during failure is perspective. Failure feels large in the moment. Over time, its size shrinks. Discipline helps you maintain this perspective. It reminds you that one outcome does not define the journey. Consistency matters more than any single result. Discipline also protects identity during failure. Without it, people label themselves as incapable. With it, identity remains intact. You failed at a task. You are not a failure. This distinction matters. Discipline keeps identity separate from outcome. It allows you to say, "I did not succeed this time. I will adjust and continue." This mindset prevents collapse. Failure can also tempt people to abandon structure. They change plans too quickly. They chase new strategies impulsively. Discipline slows this reaction. It encourages thoughtful adjustment, not emotional overhaul. Change is sometimes needed, but change should be intentional. Discipline evaluates before altering course. Another benefit of discipline during failure is emotional regulation. Strong emotions narrow thinking. They reduce clarity. Discipline keeps behavior steady while emotion settles. This steadiness preserves decision quality. Failure also reveals support systems. Disciplined individuals seek feedback. They remain open to guidance. They do not isolate. Isolation magnifies failure. Connection reduces its weight. Discipline understands that recovery is not only internal, it is relational. One of the greatest dangers after failure is quitting quietly. No announcement, no closure, just gradual withdrawal. Discipline prevents this slow exit. It demands return to routine, return to effort. This return is not dramatic, it is deliberate. Each return strengthens resilience. Resilience is not built through success alone. It is built through recovery. Discipline is the engine of recovery. It keeps you moving forward when motivation is low, when confidence is shaken, when results are uncertain. Failure does not end progress. Stopping does. Discipline ensures you do not stop. Over time, failure loses its power to derail you. It becomes part of the process, not a threat to it. This does not make failure painless. It makes it useful. Useful experiences accelerate growth. Discipline turns setbacks into steps. In the next chapter, you will learn how discipline becomes a lifelong practice, because the goal is not temporary control. It is consistent growth over time. Chapter 12. Becoming consistent for life. Consistency is not intensity repeated forever. It is alignment repeated daily. Many people confuse consistency with constant effort. They believe it requires endless pressure and strict control. This belief makes consistency feel heavy. Real consistency is lighter than that. Consistency is what happens when discipline becomes natural, when behavior no longer feels forced, when action follows structure without resistance. This chapter is about reaching that stage. Consistency for life is not built through motivation. Motivation fades. Consistency remains. The goal is not to stay excited. The goal is to stay reliable. Reliability changes outcomes. Consistency begins with realistic expectations. You cannot operate at maximum effort every day. Life does not allow it. Trying to do so leads to burnout. Burnout destroys consistency. Long-term consistency respects limits. This does not mean lowering standards. It means designing standards you can keep. Sustainable standards outperform extreme goals. Consistency also depends on identity. You act consistently when behavior matches who you believe you are. If discipline still feels like effort, identity is still forming. If discipline feels normal, identity is established. This transition takes time. Consistency grows when you stop asking how you feel and start acting based on who you are becoming. A consistent person does not debate daily effort. They follow structure. Structure creates predictability. Predictability creates calm. Calm supports consistency. Another key to lifelong consistency is flexibility. Rigid systems break under pressure. Flexible systems adapt. Consistency does not mean doing the same thing every day. It means returning to the same standards. When routines break, Consistency is not lost, it is restored. This ability to return is critical. Missed days are normal. Missed weeks are dangerous. Consistency is not about avoiding disruption. It is about shortening recovery time. A consistent person does not panic after a setback. They reset quickly. This reset keeps progress intact. Consistency also requires forgiveness, not excuse-making. Forgiveness. Holding on to guilt drains energy. Energy is needed for action. Discipline corrects behavior. It does not punish identity. You acknowledge the miss. You adjust. You continue. This approach preserves momentum. Another important element is environment. Consistency is easier in supportive environments. You shape your surroundings to reduce friction. You remove unnecessary obstacles. You simplify choices. This is not weakness. It is strategy. Consistency is built through intelligent design. Consistency also grows through rhythm. Daily rhythm. Weekly rhythm. Rhythm reduces stress. It creates flow. When your days have rhythm, effort feels smoother. Consistency is also supported by review. Occasional reflection keeps behavior aligned. You ask simple questions. What is working? What is not? You adjust without emotion. This keeps consistency relevant. Another truth about consistency is this: it compounds quietly. You rarely notice progress day to day, but over time change becomes undeniable. This delayed visibility causes many people to quit early. They underestimate the power of repetition. Consistency requires trust in the process. Trust is built through experience. Each time consistency produces results, belief strengthens. Belief reinforces behavior. This loop stabilizes over time. Consistency for life also means accepting boredom. Not every day will feel meaningful. Not every task will feel important. Discipline continues anyway. Boredom is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that routine is working. When actions feel ordinary, progress is underway. Another challenge to consistency is comparison. Watching others creates impatience. Impatience weakens discipline. Consistency thrives on focus. Focus on your path, your pace. Others are irrelevant. Consistency also benefits from clear purpose. You must know why this effort matters. Purpose provides direction when emotion is low. It does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be honest. A clear reason sustains long-term effort. Consistency is also strengthened by simplicity. Complex systems fail. Simple systems last. You do not need many rules. You need a few that matter. Consistency is about repetition, not expansion. Another important shift happens over time. You stop measuring success by results. You measure it by adherence. Did you show up? Did you follow the plan? This measurement is stable. Results fluctuate. Adherence builds. Over time, results follow. Consistency also improves confidence. Not loud confidence. Quiet confidence. Confidence built on evidence. You know you can rely on yourself. That knowledge is grounding. This self-trust reduces anxiety. It reduces hesitation. Consistency creates internal stability. Becoming consistent for life is not about control. It is about alignment. Your actions align with your values. Your routines align with your goals. Your behavior aligns with your identity. When alignment exists, effort feels lighter. Discipline becomes background behavior, not constant struggle. This is the destination. You will still face hard days. You will still feel resistance. But consistency will carry you through. Consistency does not demand perfection. It demands return. Return to structure. Return to effort. Return to standards. Each return reinforces identity. Over time, discipline becomes who you are, not something you try to do. This is consistency for life, not dramatic, not flashy, but powerful, and it is built one ordinary day at a time. Conclusion: the choice that changes everything. Every change begins with a choice, not a dramatic one. A quiet one. The choice to act without waiting to feel ready. Throughout this guide, one truth has remained constant. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is dependable. Motivation rises and falls with emotion. Discipline stands when emotion fades. This is not a matter of talent. It is not about personality. It is about decision. Each day presents the same opportunity. You can wait for the right feeling, or you can act with intention. That choice shapes everything. Discipline does not ask for perfection. It asks for participation. It asks you to show up, to follow through, to return when you drift. These small choices compound. What feels insignificant today becomes defining over time. You do not become disciplined in one moment. You become disciplined through repeated decisions. Each chapter in this book pointed to the same direction: structure over emotion, standards over excuses, consistency over intensity. These are not rigid rules, they are anchors. Anchors keep you steady when conditions change. Life will remain unpredictable. Energy will fluctuate. Motivation will disappear at times. Discipline prepares you for this reality. It does not promise ease. It promises progress. Progress built on discipline is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition, but it lasts. The most powerful changes are often invisible at first. A habit formed, a boundary kept, a promise honored. These moments shape identity. When you act with discipline, you send a message to yourself. You say, "I can be trusted." That trust changes how you think, how you decide, how you respond under pressure. Discipline creates stability. Stability creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. This momentum carries you forward. The choice that changes everything is not about effort. It is about direction. You decide what leads your life. Emotion or intention. You decide what governs action. Comfort or standards. You decide whether progress depends on mood or on commitment. This choice is available every day. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need endless motivation. You need one clear decision, and the willingness to honor it repeatedly. Discipline is not a restriction. It is a form of freedom. Freedom from hesitation. Freedom from regret. Freedom from starting over again and again. When discipline becomes part of how you live, growth becomes predictable, not because life is easy, but because your response is consistent. This is the quiet power of discipline. Not excitement, not intensity. Consistency. The work will not always feel rewarding in the moment, but it will always move you forward. And that is the point. The choice that changes everything is simple. You act. Even when you do not feel like it, you follow through. Even when progress feels slow, you return. Even when you drift, that choice made daily reshapes your life. And it begins now.